This episode of On the Line is presented to you by Living.fit, your one stop for all your fitness needs. Make sure you go download the app Living.fit today. Now here's the show. Welcome to On the Line. Today is Friday, January 14th. We got a great show for all of you guys, but if you're watching, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Deezer, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, whatever, make sure you hit the follow button. So obviously we got JT O'Sullivan here. He makes us all a lot smarter, man. We talk about NFL Europa. We talk about quarterbacks. We talk about rookie quarterbacks, old quarterbacks. We talk about NFL playoff quarterbacks. I don't know, man. We kind of go all over the place. Have some fun with it. And for all my UFC heads out there, don't worry. We got that card tomorrow. We talk about it. But before that, ESPN released these like bold takes list. They're not really bold takes. So I take it, I fix it. We got a great list. That's all I'm going to say. It's a great list. That's why I am the hot take, the bold take, whatever you want to call it, take. I'm the best. I am the guru. I'm the king of them all. Also, for future reference, I'm sorry for all the water bottle drinks. I am a soldier of COVID right now. So, got to stay hydrated, right? So, with that said, man, we also go over the card right after the hot takes list. So, great show. Awesome show. So here's JTO. Damn, bro, I should rap. We are here with the QB school guru himself. He is a former NFL Europe MVP. It is JT O'Sullivan. My man, what's up? How's California?
Man, it's pretty nice, man. You can't beat it nowadays. What is it, January?
January, yeah.
Whew.
What's the temperature over there?
Where are you at?
I'm in Indianapolis. It's cold as hell.
Oh, man, yeah. No, it's what is it out here? It's cold, man. It's like 62,
Oh,
63.
yeah, that's freezing. Yeah, I can only imagine all the coats and layers you guys got over there. So
I went hoodie, but I went short sleeve hoodie.
Oh
so
my god,
not too bad.
God, I wish I could have that right now. You have to be layered up, and you're still freezing your fingers off. Before we go further into this, I'm curious. Can you still name every team you played for to give an idea of kind of your career for everyone listening right now?
I probably could. You want me to? The mental gymnastics of
Let's
it?
do it. Yeah.
I got drafted in New Orleans.
Okay.
Went to Germany over there one time with the Frankfurt Galaxy. Got traded to Green Bay. From Green Bay, I went to the practice squad in Chicago. Then got signed with the Vikings. From there, went back to Europe. As property of the Bears. Came back, they cut me, so I never really was part of them. So 2 times in Europe. I was out of the league that year before I went back to Europe and was on the practice squad in New England and Carolina. Then came back and got signed with Detroit, really Mike Martz, Detroit, San Francisco for a year, Cincinnati for a year, the Chargers and the Raiders the same year, actually played against each other. That was kind of an interesting process. And then did Saskatchewan Roughriders for a year. So that's a lot of moving in a decade right there for you, bro.
What do you do? Sorry, so you you just stayed in extended hotels pretty much for 10 years?
For the most part. Definitely when I was like bouncing around mid-season, for sure, in the practice squad life. But I had some nice apartments there too every once in a while.
So you said a second ago how you played as I think it was the Raiders, and you played against the Bengals? No, the Chargers. That was who it was.
Yeah.
Did you think that they signed you because you were with that other team for as long as you were, and just kind of maybe he knows what's going on, or something like that?
I don't think so. I didn't know that much. I think they were just in like an emergency situation where they needed a quarterback, and I was on the streets, so to speak, as far as just being released from somewhere, and it just so happened that we had played that team a few weeks earlier. So I probably talked to a handful of defensive guys, but I probably didn't know enough to make a significant impact for them.
Okay. So one thing you talked about, and it's something that I think a lot of people may not realize or remember, is there was a league in Europe. What was kind of like the biggest, like what was it like playing over there?
I mean, it was great for me. It really saved my career multiple times. I played so well there the first time I got traded, and then I came back and was out of the league and kind of got an extra decade in the league because of going over there and playing well. And it was great. It was a unique experience just because, I'm a California kid, certainly Americanized in that regard. And so to have a little bit more of a global perspective on things and sports and athletics was fun. I fell in love with soccer over there in the Bundesliga, being in Germany. and just getting a chance to see how other fans and communities and athletic structures are built. I think a lot of people, especially in America, think of collegiate athletics and kind of education tethered to athletics, where that's just not the model internationally. And so you grow up in a club, you grow up playing for your club, your local community. It's a different perspective, and it really opened my eyes to a lot of different things. And I really, really enjoyed it. The second time I went over there, my brother was actually playing rugby in France. And so he would train to my games, I would train to his games. And because it was NFL Europe, the fines were like $25. So I'd like throw 100 on my bed and see like, I'll see you in 2 days.
How is it only $25 for a fine? That's nothing.
Well, they're not paying you anything
That's true.
really. And so I came from, a little bit of playing in the league for a couple years, had a little bit of something, and was able to kind of do stuff like that to take advantage of it, because, you're just not going to get over there very often, or at least I'm not, as a West Coast guy. And so got to take advantage when I'm over there.
What was like the biggest culture shock for you?
I mean, it's just so humbling to not be able to communicate, and a lot of young people speak English over there in Germany, but just feeling like a foreigner, literally being a foreigner, but then that feeling of, being not necessarily on your own, because you're over there with a lot of Americans, but if you want the full experience, you got to leave the hotel, you got to leave the local confines of your stadium and your kind of practice facility and go experience it. And I really enjoyed it. I think, I don't know if I ever necessarily ate what I wanted to eat as far as like a preparation and a nutrition standpoint, but that's also part of it too. You got to immerse yourself in the culture, and certainly had some good beverages along the way as well. So a combination of all those things kind of made it a blast.
It sounds almost like obviously it's kind of seen in like a minor leagues, but it kind of is almost like if you go into like baseball minors, it sounds like kind of the same kind of experience, just on another side of the world.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's a fair thing. I really is, and specifically for the quarterback position, only one guy gets to play. There's only so much development that can happen in a training session or in a practice, that playing becomes really important to quarterbacks. And so I had to go over there to play to prove that I deserve to be in the league. And so that certainly is part of it. The minor, whether you classify it as minor leagues or not, it's certainly not the same competition that you would see, on a Sunday in the States, but it's as it was fast. There were a lot of big dudes, and it was high level football. Look at that.
No,
On
I
cue.
mean it's kind of like the when you look at, let's say, like the XFL, you look at the USFL, all these different leagues that have kind of come and gone. You see these guys, like PJ Walker, for instance, Taylor Heineke, who didn't even start. These guys get another chance, and then they're in the league for a couple years, maybe even last for 10 years. And it's just one of those things where I feel like that's a gap that eventually, at some point, the NFL has to have a development league, right? Like, wouldn't you think so?
I mean, you would think it's just so damn expensive.
Yeah.
And it's just hard. So much of American football is TV generated money, whether you look at the high level college football or the league. It's just hard to get people to watch right now in out of season, out of fall football. And so I think it'd be great. Eventually, I think it'd elevate the product of the fall game for sure. But, you see little pockets of leagues experiment every other year. And it feels like for whatever reason, they just can't find a financially stable model to be able to survive some of those things. And I think NFL Europe survived a little bit longer because there were some league revenue behind it. And I think that they still have aspirations about being an international sport. I think that's a fascinating thing to pull back from pro sports wise. You see like the association be able to go a little bit more global, and you see the league play in London and Mexico City. And I think eventually the global footprint will continue to expand, but it's hard because it is a complicated game. It's a very American game as far as the start and stops, but it's built for TV, and it's a beautiful TV product.
I mean, speaking of that, how they've gone international, I feel like it'll be like travel and things like that. It's almost impossible to have these teams play like in a London, but it'd be like we can do a Mexico City, Toronto, maybe a Vancouver. Like going to London, I feel like you'd have to like implement a bye week, just like give those teams proper enough time to like be able to travel over there and like actually have a fair advantage. Because then you really have a home field
Yeah, I mean,
advantage.
yeah, I mean, I can see both sides of it. I think the players that have gone on those London trips more and more recently have found better ways to do it. I think it would be one of those things where it would just be baked into the process, whether it's tethered to your buy or whether it's tethered to another East Coast trip, so you can kind of go 2 weeks on travel. Because I mean, you see teams in other sports go 2 week trips all the time. Not that they enjoy them, but it's just a reality of playing, pro baseball or pro basketball that you're going to go on a road trip. Well, a road trip in the NFL is usually like, 48 hours. And so it'd just be a little bit of a different process. I don't think, I think it's eventually going to happen regardless of, whatever the American fan base wants to see, and even the American players want to see, just because there's so much global revenue at stake when you start thinking about the NFL and a wider footprint. So it's only a matter of time.
It's all about the money. It's always going to always be about the money too. So,
There you go.
have you ever recommended the 2 towels method to anyone else?
You know what? I think the tool towel method would catch on a lot in COVID. Like,
Yeah,
I don't, and
yeah.
maybe it's not that big of a deal because it's your own mouth, but I'm telling you, it was a game changer for me. It definitely sparked a bunch of conversations too. Whatever team I was on, they're like, "Wait, why do you have 2 towels? One's wet." I'm like, "Yeah, bro, I'm not licking. You think I'm licking my hands after I just put my hands under you? Like, no, or I'm good."
No, yeah, I always felt that was always one of the weird things. Like, that you put your hand on there, you're throwing a ball with your spit. I don't know. I see your side of it, but yeah, I'm surprised that never really caught on with COVID, because it's one of those things where too, especially the past couple months, probably want to limit as much exposure as possible. Like, hey man, I'm throwing you this ball. Let's try to, like, at least if I'm positive, you're fine. I don't know. There's a lot of little dumb things they could have done to maybe, I don't know, but I don't know if you can spread it that way. I don't know. This thing's crazy.
I'm not that kind of
We're
doctor,
not a doctor. No,
but I
you are
will
a
say that
doctor, but not that kind of
I
doctor.
just, like, for me, it was never like, I just wasn't that comfortable like licking my hands and doing anything when I was out there. And so once an equipment guy was like, "Yeah, you should just," we had this one guy who had a wet towel and you could just do both. And I was like, sold. Thank you.
Who was the easiest receiver to throw to, and why was it Calvin Johnson?
Yeah, it definitely was Calvin Johnson. And because, I mean, he's like thrown to a side of a building. I mean, he could just, like, it's pretty hard to miss, to be honest with you. And when he was healthy and operating at his best, and I was only around him his rookie year, but I think he came into camp late. So I got to run with him in the twos for like a couple of days. And it was just, I felt like I was a Hall of Famer out there. Everything feels easier, when you've got a guy out there who's just faster, bigger, can jump higher, more talented with the ball, than like that. And it's a bad feeling. And I've been on the flip side of that too, where you walk into a huddle and you're kind of like, "Hey, nice to meet you, nice to meet you, nice to meet you. Let's go see if we can not get embarrassed," and it's a tough feeling. And when you got nobody who can create separation.
It helps
And
out when you
so,
have a guy you can just be like, screw it, I'm just going to throw it up. He's either going to come down with it or it's going to be incomplete. It's not going to get picked. I know that, at least. Or it shouldn't be
well,
picked.
yeah, and even further, it changes the reads on plays when you've got a dynamic guy like that. Because I remember being on the sideline and coaches being like, "Hey, listen, just throw it 11 feet high to Calvin." And, like, it doesn't matter what coverage you're in. If he's running full speed and can make that kind of consistent play, that changes the dynamic of what we're trying to do with the football. And so it's just a huge comfort to go out there and play with those types of players.
It's like you see Patrick Mahomes out there. It's like he just knows, all right, I'm just going to throw the ball as far as I can, and hopefully Tyreek can go out there and catch it. If I have nothing, just do that. See if it works.
Well, and it helps to be able to throw it far
Yeah.
and throw it from all angles and have a couple guys on that offense that can do it. But yeah, those types of and the easiest way to classify for me is always like freaks of freaks. Like, everybody out there on Sunday is a freak of some sort. Like, if they were at the local gym or local whatever, local field, they would be, the biggest, strongest, fastest cat. But when you get out there and you are the biggest, strongest, fastest dude on a field of those types of guys, you're a freak. And so it's you got to find ways to take advantage of those types of players if you're fortunate enough to play with them.
And so this is kind of a side. So kind of a part of that is you see some of these like college quarterbacks. This is kind of getting into the quarterback theory of it. Why do you see some college quarterbacks thrive so well in college, and then immediately when they get the NFL, they just don't, looks as if like they don't know what they're doing?
Well, I mean, this is probably not the answer you or anybody wants, but it's a number of things.
Well, yeah.
But most of them, honestly, have to do with luck. And so what I mean by that is, Trevor Lawrence is a perfect example. Congratulations, you're the best player available in the draft. You go to the worst franchise in the league. They're a reason they're the worst franchise. And so they probably don't have the depth on the roster. They don't have the explosiveness, players around him. But he was the best player last year. And I don't think anybody, not very many people would have disagreed with that going into the draft. But, did he have the best rookie season? No, obviously not, because he's dealing with different variables around him as an organization, a coach, all those types of things. And so a lot of it is luck where you end up. And it's a weird thing, especially in America, because the draft, is so associated with American sports. Well, in reality, it's really un-American, to basically determine where someone's going based on, the owner just randomly, luckily choosing you for your employment. It wouldn't work in damn near any other industry other than sports and, like literally military war. And so it's just a bizarre way to reward someone for being the best coming into their profession. And so much of it is luck. And even if you're not the number one pick, like I was pick 186, I want to say like Tom Brady was around the same time, like 181 or 189 or something. Like it's just luck, if he goes to another franchise, he's probably still a very good player. I don't think anyone would ever take that away from him. But the way that he fell into that franchise with that coach and made the most out of that opportunity, a lot of it is the variable of luck. And that's uncomfortable for a lot of people when they're like, well, that quarterback, nobody can evaluate a quarterback. Well, it's hard to evaluate those guys because some of them are playing with really talented people and great programs, and they're going to go to the worst team and they're going to potentially get hurt or health. All these things that go into any sport and longevity and those types of things. But, a lot of it is luck,
So
unfortunately.
like last year, you had Joe Burrow on the Bengals, like he tears his ACL, and I think they get the Bengals pick up Jamar Chase. Everyone's like, "Oh, that's such a terrible idea. They need to protect him." Blah blah blah. Then this year, he just explodes, and now they're the hottest. They might be arguably the hottest team in the NFL. It's just kind of crazy how all that
Yeah.
works.
And I mean, that's a perfect example of a number of factors, right? Like Jamar Chase didn't even play his senior year,
Mm-mm.
right? I mean, so like all those people that are talking about, we're just coming off of a bowl season of people loving to talk about, people not playing for the love of the game or things like that, like literally sat out a year and comes in there and plays football at that level of play. And so, all those things are factors that go into your performance. And it certainly helps to have a dudes like that where you can just, as Joe Burrow would love to say, just like F it, throw it up there, like let it rip. Like there, that's the truth of it though, for real. I mean, that's the part of it. Yeah, sure. You don't want to live by that every single throw, but there are moments where it matters. And to have dudes that can go out there and make plays like that sure as hell help.
And like obviously, you said we talked about Trevor Lawrence a minute ago, and like he went to the Jaguars yesterday, though he looked like the number one pick, beat the Colts, kind of crazy. I'm disappointed. I'm sad. But then you have guys who you might ruin. Like I know, like that's kind of some people. It's like did so and so ruin him. I know you're big on Justin Fields. I'm very high on Justin Fields. Is there a chance Matt Nagy might have already ruined Justin Fields?
I mean, there's a chance for anything to, yeah, but I would put it, there's, it's a weird day, right? With all the quote unquote like Black Monday
Yeah.
in the league where all these people are getting fired, whether you anticipated it or not. But that's another perfect example. You look across the landscape of the head coaching changes, that has a massive impact on who's playing quarterback.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter if it's Justin Fields, if it's Tua, if it's go down the list of every single person that's going to have a new head coach as the quarterback, as the franchise quarterback, that significantly impacts your ability to do your job. And so that's not in his control at all. Now, I mean, I guess it's kind of in his control. If he would have went out there and played out of his mind every single snap, he probably would have not been a change had been made. But I mean, the idea being that so much of your job is tethered to other people's also performance is something that's just unique to the position. And so, you know, can he already be ruined? Yes. Do I think it is? No, absolutely not. But I do think that it's a massive hire for his career, for the trajectory of what his career looks like, whether it's in Chicago or anywhere else. You see, very rarely do quarterbacks survive two head coaching changes ever. It's one of those things that you got to make the most out of whatever the hire is. And it's, if you come in there and it's some defensive guru who comes in and wants to pound the ball and run the ball, old school, well, that's going to significantly impact your ability to play the quarterback position in today's football. And so, it's an unsettling, a lot of ambiguity, a lot of uncertainty about your future, your role tethered to someone else's decision.
And I think one of the biggest things about like rookie, like young quarterbacks, and something that I think there's obviously no tentative like year where you're like, all right, it's time to give up on that person or whatever. But for you, at what point in someone's career can you be like, either he's going to figure it out or he's not going to figure it out?
Yeah, I mean that is a tough one because there are so many outstanding circumstances. I think for most quarterbacks, it's that jump between year 2 and 3. I can think of recent examples. I want to say like Josh Allen. He's probably the outlier of the extreme improvement.
Hmm.
But most people, you kind of lose all the potential kind of excuses after that. Specifically, if you've been in the same system. Now it's a little different when you fire a head coach or get a new coordinator, But if you've been in the same system, same coaches, and and you've played year two, the first 2 years, that jump to the third year, you've now gone through a second full offseason. You know exactly what's expected, across the position. And so for me, that's where you look for the biggest jump. That's where you start having to sign, hey, do I have to sign that 5th year? What's the second contract look like? Are they going to pay me? You start having conversations like that with yourself, with the organization. Then they start making an investment into you and your future. That's for me when it makes the big jump. The problem is you just don't see a lot of big jumps. Like Josh Allen, I think, is the outlier when you see someone who maybe might have struggled with certain things that you think of as high level quarterback play, as far as accuracy and consistency, going from his early years to that 3rd year where you're like, Jesus, where is this guy's one of the best players in the league? As opposed to guys like Herbert, maybe who come in and you're like, geez, this guy already is one of the best players in the league. You're never going to see that type of improvement for him because he's already playing at that level. And so I think it depends on everyone, on where that organization is in their scope of when they think that they can compete. But really, at the end of the day, you already mentioned it. It's about when they're going to get paid. When do they need to secure that second contract for you? Because it's a different paradigm in the league when when your quarterback is on a rookie deal and you can afford to spread money out in other places, as opposed to when you've paid the quarterback and you need to be thin at other places.
And so this is my last question about the rookie quarterbacks. And I would say there's probably 5 key quarterbacks you can look at from this past rookie year. I'm going to include Davis Mills in this since he got playing time this year. If you were to rank those 5, even though Trey Lance hasn't played a whole lot, you kind of have a little bit of film on him. How would you rank them now if you were to go back and redo the draft?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I would rank them differently because I still think that they're the same players. But if you want to rank each player with their situation, I think that matters a lot. And so I don't think any of them are in great situations, to be honest with you. I mean, let's walk through it. Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville, new head coach. Zach Wilson, Jets. I would say the roster is difficult to work with. Potentially showed some signs at the end. Again, new coach. Justin Fields, new head coach. Davis Mills might be getting a new head coach. Obviously, probably played himself into a situation where he at least deserves an opportunity to continue to play. And then Trey Lance, why wasn't he playing? I know, everyone loves to talk about Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo, but, they gave up a lot for him to play. Jimmy Garoppolo is not 100%. He's not playing in the most important game. I don't think any of those situations are great, but the reason they're not great is because those guys had early picks as a franchise. And so to me, it's too early to call. I know people love to do the, who had the best year, who had the best this. I personally think for quarterbacks, you really need a half a decade. I think at a half a decade mark, you can tell, this person is on track to be a franchise quarterback. This person's on track to be a Hall of Famer. This person's on track to need to find a new home. Or, like for me, you'd already be like on your 5th home already. So it's, just different paths. But, if you're fortunate enough to get an opportunity to play as a rookie, which in and of itself is mind blowing to me. I couldn't have imagined having played significant snaps as a rookie, that they went out there and battled as best they possibly could, but none of those were good teams.
The only guy who has a good situation really is Mac Jones. That's really the only one. And even him, I mean, I don't think he's really played that incredible. I feel like it's more or less just been Bill has a great defense. The running game's just killing it. As long as he doesn't turn the ball over, I mean, that's how they win. I don't think it's really him pushing the ball down the field.
I mean, I think he's played well. I think he's played better at certain stretches over the course of the season, but you're absolutely right. And I forgot to mention it, but that's by far the best situation, right? If we're ranking situations, that's where you're going to go in there. And now you also have to be smart with the ball and do exactly what they're asking you to do. And they run a unique style of ball there that's been successful for a really long time. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to say if you insert anyone, but if there are very few quarterbacks that are asked to throw the ball, 3 times a game and go out there and win on the league. And joking aside, I mean, it's funny, till you're Justin Fields and you're like, wait, what? He got to win. He's winning, throwing it 3 times and my guy just got fired. So, it's a crazy ass league.
I mean, Carson Wentz did it, and then obviously that hasn't worked out too hot. But he only threw the ball I think 7 times against, I think it actually was New England or something like that. He didn't have to throw the ball at all, and they still found a way to win.
I mean, it helps when you win.
It helps when you win, and then it doesn't help the day after, where it looks. What was it? The Colts season. I'm a Colts fan, so it's one of those things where 2 weeks ago you think you're world beaters. Now you don't know if you have a quarterback. Now you don't know what's going on. It's just chaos. You just don't know. That's also the beauty of the game. It's so unpredictable.
Well, I feel like everybody's a pseudo Colts fan this year, not necessarily because of Carson Wentz by any means, but just the in season Hard Knocks.
Yeah,
The in season Hard Knocks was pretty
it
cool.
was
I
awesome.
don't know why they decided to do that, but it was I'm a big fan of Frank Reich. I can remember him playing for the Bills. Actually, I got a Bills. This is going to date me now, but I got a Bills starter jacket, like starter parka the
Ooh,
Christmas,
yeah.
the Christmas that they beat the Oilers, and my best buddy in junior high at the time got an Oilers parka. And so I remember watching that game being like, I'm not even going to get a chance to wear this at school. They're going to be like the laughing stock, lose the first round of the playoffs. And he has this great comeback. And I was like, oh man, this is,
There we go.
I don't know, I would give anything for that parka.
No, I know, I love Frank. He's just bad year that happens every now and then. You just have this stuff happens. It's just the NFL. And I kind of want to ask about. There's one other guy I kind of want to bring up, and it's just I don't want to pick on the Bears. I don't want to pick on Matt Nagy. But does Mitch Trubisky's stock go up, especially after the preseason, and then seeing how he went to the playoffs twice in that system?
I mean, I don't know if I'd say it goes up. I say regardless, he's probably going to get another opportunity to play at some point. And so that's whether, you know, someone gets hurt and he has a long extended stay as a backup and plays himself into another opportunity. I think of guys like, like Nick Foles as far as that type of opportunity. But guys that are drafted that high usually get two opportunities. And you know, I don't know if it might be different in the league circles, but I think for a long time, Matt Nagy had the reputation for being, pretty creative offensively. And so, not necessarily has the capacity to hide deficiencies, but just a quarterback friendly situation until probably the last few years or whatever that
The
has
doink.
transformed
Ever since
itself
the
into in
doink.
Chicago. Yeah, really.
The doink.
But
Yeah.
this idea being that guys that are drafted that high get opportunities in my opinion. And so whether maybe he'll have to hold on and be a true career backup here for a few years, but at some point he's going to get an extended opportunity to play. And if he plays himself into another contract, another opportunity, then I don't know if that necessarily has anything to do with whether people view Matt Nagy in the same light anymore, because they certainly don't. But I think Mitchell Trubisky has the skill set that deserves that kind of opportunity.
I had a brain fart. That was like a side question I had to ask, but like, 'cause I was trying to think. I have a Hard Knocks question I wanted to ask. And I was like, oh my god, I completely forget it because you were on Hard Knocks. What was that like to be on Hard Knocks?
Yeah, I was sort of on Hard Knocks. I got pretty lucky because I was on there with the Palmer brothers, were the other quarterbacks on the team, and they're both good dudes, great dudes. But they're kind of the cool story in and of themselves, and so I was able to really kind of just like hide in the background. And at that point in my life and career, I just wasn't interested in that at all. Like I liked Hard Knocks, but I also knew that like I swore like a sailor in camp. And I didn't want to be mic'd up because in camp I feel like all you do is basically talk shit about your teammates, who's in like what happened on that play in a meeting, or it's it's not like my best self.
Yeah.
And so I don't want a mic or an HD camera like in my face in the huddle when I'm swearing at myself or swearing at some other person. And so it was just like I just kind of found myself kind of cascading into the background. I remember taking microphones off my pads. They would just like put them on your pads for practice. And I was like, yo, no, 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 no. Like, I do not want to be mic'd up like this. And so I think I probably pissed a couple of dudes off on the crew, but obviously, and not so much that they actually, a handful of guys on that crew helped with, was fortunate enough to do like an NFL Films thing afterwards that only happened because of Hard Knocks. And so there's certainly a special spot in my heart just because I like the show, but I also know myself enough to know that that's not the person that I want filmed all the time. The guy who shows up at training camp that's fighting for their life, that probably doesn't have the best language available.
It kind of take the likability might not be all the way up there. If they can hear everything people are saying,
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's the training camp thing is obviously, I think people from the outside looking in think of it as, guys, you're getting paid to play football and go do this, and I'm not going to make excuses about how hard it is, but it's, I grew up going to the 49er training camp in Northern California and I loved it for autographs and watching practice. But, you're only out there for half hour, 90 minutes. You're not living at some small college in, West Kentucky away from your family, in a dorm 20 bed and, getting smacked on feeling like, crap for 4 weeks in a row. So it's not my best self, and I was fortunate enough to not play a starring role in that.
So, like, one thing I've always wondered is, especially again with the Colts being on Hard Knocks, did you guys like hide stuff, like purposely not do things like in practice because of the cameras being there, or like how is that whole like how does that work?
I always thought no. The quick answer is no, but I always thought that the team has kind of the final edit say, so they can say like, "Hey, we I don't want you talking about how we think about this matchup or what we're attacking game plan wise or what we're running." So I feel like there is some sort of league filter, whether it's team specific or what, to be able to say what makes it and what doesn't make it, because obviously the league wants it to show themselves in the best light. But I can tell you personally, being in a meeting room that has a camera, or I acted differently anecdotally. I definitely was not as colorful with my adjectives as I would be, about certain, experiences or plays or performances with that. And you can also, there were also at the time, I'm sure it's better technology now, but they used to have these like bubble cameras in the room. And so they could kind of pan and you would hear them like, and I'd be like, like you look up, I'm like,
I
oh,
hope it's not me.
got it.
Please don't be me.
like, not interested in that. Please, I make sure I'm quiet. So yeah, no, I never got used to it. I know that they would always say, "Hey, you'll forget that we're here," da da da. But this was back in the day too. This was like 2009 when the HD cameras, were like they're like 18 inches long. They're right in your face. There's no way to hide that. I never got comfortable with a boom mic over my head and a big camera in my face.
Yeah, it's also probably with technology nowadays, with everyone having phones and cameras and always having cameras in their face, might help a little bit. I don't know. Probably helps the
For
players a
sure.
little bit. But I do want to talk a little bit
Yeah.
about the NFL playoffs. I want to kind of ask for you, in your opinion, like if you had to pick one team at this moment who's like the scariest team, maybe the team that could like maybe surprise people to win it all, who is it? I'm just kind of curious. Who do you think?
Well, I mean, it's tough for me because I feel like I'm always, and this is again puts it back to like me being old. I used to like just root for my friends,
Yeah.
and whether it's coaching buddies or dudes that I played with. But as I get older, they seem to stay the same age, and they're whether the guys that are still playing, for whatever reason, it's harder to pick on that. And that was always kind of my easy default. I think for me, it's just what's the most interesting story. And to be honest with you, I probably would have fallen into that Colts camp for a long time. I'm a West Coast guy, so I'm always a little fascinated with the 49ers, with the Raiders, with what happened with the Chargers as far as that disaster against the Raiders. But then this idea being, just who the most interesting team is for me. And it's always defaults back to who the best quarterbacks are. So, I mean, I'm interesting wise, like who I would like to turn on the film and watch would be guys like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. It'll be fascinating to see what Tom Brady does with that roster. All of a sudden you go from having a bunch of dynamic weapons to feeling like, you're a little constrained on your options on the perimeter. And then, the other thing about it is how I'm fascinated just from the fan of football, how the bye week impacts this playoffs. Having only one team catch the bye, I think is going to have a dramatic impact on what that looks like. And, with what Mike Vrabel has done with Tennessee, if for some reason they can catapult into this opportunity with a healthy Henry, if he comes back, that type of matchup versus Green Bay would be pretty fascinating on a number of different levels.
Do you really think they were going to kneel it down? Like, because I know there was that clip that went not viral today, but like it was of Austin Eckler talking to someone on the Raiders, and the people claim it was him saying we were going to kneel it down until you guys called the timeout. Do you buy that? Because I think there's no way they were going to kneel it down.
No, I had this conversation before that game last week or yesterday for us, whenever you watch this, but before the game about, this happens in other sports, in soccer, people play to a draw. It's not that out of the ordinary. It doesn't happen every single year, but certainly people intentionally play to the draw and they're just careful with the ball. It's harder to do in American football, but you certainly could have done it at the end there. And I personally don't think that the guys in the league have the capacity to do that. I just don't. I think that, calling that timeout and at the end of the game made sense to me for how Staley explained it, saying he wanted to have his best run defense out there. Now, they didn't execute and it didn't matter. But, to say that they were going to kneel it and just let the clock run out, I find that hard to believe for American guys. I think that they should have, in retrospect. I think it's the safer play on a number of different levels, but I don't think you can be in that heated of a competitive moment and going all out all game and then be like, we're going to turn it down here. We'll just, shake hands, take our tie and go the other way. It's just not the way that our sports culture is baked. Could you imagine that, just how furious people would be? I mean, I
Like the
honestly can't even
gamblers
wrap
out
my head
there,
around it.
like
Yeah.
they're
I mean,
division rivals too. Like that's the other thing I don't understand. They're division rivals. Why would they help each other out? That's what
yeah,
I
no,
didn't. That's what I was thinking about the entire time. Is like, why would they help each other?
I probably tend to think that there's no way that they were just going to sit on that thing and not take an opportunity to win it at the end.
No, they were gonna at least kick it, and they were already they were in field goal range, sort of at that point. So it's just like, let's just see how close we can get. Just run it, not risk throwing the ball. I thought that's what they were trying to do, and they called the timeout thinking maybe he'll miss the kick and we have a chance to throw it. That was my thought process the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, my thought process was the same as I think the way that Staley explained it. He
Yeah.
basically just wanted to make sure he had his best defense out there to stop the run, and they did, but it didn't matter at that point.
No, that was good. That I will say, I think the Raiders have overtaken the Colts. That's probably everyone's now favorite little story because of everything the Raiders have gone through. I think everyone's got to be cheering for them.
I mean, how long ago does that John Gruden thing feel
It
like?
feels
I
like
mean, that felt
forever.
like it was almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, it feels forever. And not even that, the Henry Ruggs situation, that feels like that was almost 2 years ago. It just keeps adding on. And just the fact that Pasikcia has to be head coach next year, right? Like there's no way they get rid of him.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
It's like a courtesy. We give you a year. If it doesn't work, we get rid of you.
yeah, maybe courtesy year.
Courtesy year. I don't know. I mean, it's just like he goes to the playoffs. It's something I don't know. But no, that they got to be a team I think everyone's kind of cheering for. And then other than that, I do have one question about Tom Brady. We've talked about it a little bit before. Is how is he throwing the ball better, or if maybe better than he did like maybe even 10 years ago? Like what is he doing to make him this good at this age?
I don't know, man. I don't pretend to have the answers. I think, I think there's a bunch of ways you can kind of see what he's selling as far as the TB12 stuff and the whatever, the pliability stuff. And I'm not that kind of, scientist when it comes to being able to look at longevity. I don't pretend to have the answers. It's pretty impressive, though. I know how kind of crummy I feel at 40 something. And I can only imagine him being older and getting smacked and having to do that. And it doesn't seem like he gets hurt, besides for one time in his career. It really seems like he's got an unbelievable knack to do whatever it takes to be healthy and be competitive in that regard. Obviously you could go on forever about the superlatives for that dude, but I just, it's fascinating to see him get better and better. And it feels like the Tampa Bay thing obviously is a little bit different just because it feels like his fingerprints are a little bit deeper in what's going on down there. And so whether it's, him signing who he wants to sign or getting to play with who he wants to get to play with or what that offense looks like, it's been fun to see him kind of have this second career and be able to do it at such a high level. So at that age, it's crazy, man. It really is crazy. I get sore throwing batting practice to my little kid, let alone, throwing footballs, every single day in the league.
I just always think back to how like Drew Brees in his final couple of years, he'd get barely touched and he'd crack a rib, and it's just the elasticity and stuff on Tom Brady is just nuts. The fact that he's never been hurt after he's been hit pretty hard a couple times the past couple of years too, so it's just mind-boggling how just durable he is at this age.
Honestly, I think at some point there will be, some significant inquiry into how exactly he's doing it. And it'll be fascinating to see kind of what the outcomes come from that. But I mean, just watching it from the outside, the way he seems to take care of himself and is able to perform, and really you touched on it, but get better or do his best throwing the ball. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
It's otherworldly. It's otherworldly. So unfortunately, my intern couldn't be here. Usually this is where I give him an opportunity to ask like a series of questions. And the way it works is if you like it, we keep going. And if you don't like it, we stop. He gave me 3 though, and I'm going to ask them. So you can be a little more mean since he's not here. So the first question is, what was the best meal you ever had while in Europe?
Well, first up, I got to make sure that I get an internship where I don't have to show up to the internship.
He's in school.
Favorite.
He's in school. He's a college kid. He had class. This is the only time that could work. He sent me the schedule. I believe him.
Good look at you. You're sticking up for him. I thought it's all virtual nowadays.
I battle for my people.
All right. The best meal, I probably would say just like the introduction to schnitzel
Ooh, yeah.
more than anything else. The handful, we were really fortunate. We lived in this little town called Offenbach, and right off the Rhine River, and it was sit outside on a restaurant, have a nice little liter, have some schnitzel. I mean, that was probably my go-to jam for now. I don't know if that translates to running very fast every single game, but it was certainly my bounce back meal.
That was you're throwing the ball. You don't need to worry about running. Number two, which city did you feel you traveled around, but which city did you feel the most at home in?
Well, I was fortunate enough to play for the Chargers when they were still in San Diego. So that was definitely it actually felt weird to be at home and working, if that makes sense. But
Didn't need the extended stay.
probably yeah, it's probably the I always answer this. I'll answer it in two different ways. My favorite city that I spent a time in is probably New Orleans. I just fell in. It was probably where I was at early in my career. Spent a number of years there. Just had a blast with the local vibe, the local scene, the food, the lifestyle, everything. It was just that's my jam down there. And then as far as the pure football, there it's hard to beat Lambeau. It really is. There's no other setting like it, in my opinion. It's very I didn't play big time college football. It's what I would imagine big time college football is like, as far as the bleachers, the crowds, the positive environment. It's a unique place. I remember walking out there the first game, and so many guys there are so many this will tell you how California I am. There's like a third of the stands is orange, like bright orange. And I'm like, and I think I was playing for New Orleans, and we were playing against Green Bay. I don't remember if I was with Green Bay or not, but I do remember being startled, like, why is there all this orange? Like, no one's even orange. And so one of the guys I was with was like, "You California kid, like that's their hunting gear, like this their cold weather gear." Like I'm like, "What? They're hunting?" I was just like, "All right, yeah. I mean, I guess it makes sense. You want to wear your coldest stuff out there, your warmest stuff, and to sit out there for 3 hours." But I was like, "Man, there's a lot of orange in these stands."
Yeah, I don't know. I think nowadays there's a little like clothing technology, if you even want to call it that. It's a little bit better, so you don't have to always wear the hunting gear out there. But yeah, if you're gonna
There
be
you
out
go.
there in like
See,
0 degree weather, you gotta be a little warm. I mean, you gotta
hey,
gotta stay warm at least for that long. That's hard. No, that makes sense. So I love New Orleans too. That's probably my favorite city, like in America. I love that city. It is so much fun. A lot of good food. Can't beat it. So the last question he sent me is, what was the wildest stadium you've ever played in?
ooh,
Like rowdiest, let's say
wildest.
rowdiest fans, I think is what he means.
Yeah, so I'm gonna answer that again two different ways. So rowdiest stadium. I'm gonna have to work on these questions. No, I was waiting for like, what's my favorite color?
I mean, do you want to answer that?
No, it's green. Yeah, the rowdiest stadium for me, probably the craziest game I can remember, and it even impacted the video for the film that we would watch, like with the all 22. Was we were playing? I want to say it was the last week or the second to last week of the season. I was with Green Bay. We were playing at Minnesota, like in the old Metrodome,
Hmm.
and it was so loud that I like felt like everything about me was moving on the sideline, and it was literally rocking. And I remember going back and watching the film, and the film was swaying, shaking back and forth. And so it was great. We ended up winning the game, winning the division. I did a lot, but I was on the team, and we won the division, and so that was certainly a fun game. And then probably the craziest like set of fans was probably the old school Raiders black hole, like in the crummy Coliseum, on the dirt. You catch yourself in that end zone where those guys were at, and it was just like otherworldly as far as like things you would hear, things you would feel like you're getting, spit on, and just the most, unique environment in the league. But it was also fun too. Like I really enjoy that type of stuff because, and I think most players get this, like so much of why we're able to do what you're able to do at that level is because of the fans, like the people who love it. So you understand the entertainment element of it, but man, the people that take it to that level, that are just like lose their minds for a couple hours down there, is pretty
The
cool.
way they dress up and then just go to work on Monday like nothing happened.
Yeah, just
That's the beauty of the sport, I guess you want to call it that. So one more thing before I let you go. Right now, as of January 10th, 2022, who is your Super Bowl prediction? Don't have to give a winner. What's the matchup?
I'm gonna go. Titans Packers.
Really, you're going with Titans?
Yep.
All right, I respect it.
Who do you got? Who you got? Give it to me.
I got Chiefs Packers.
All right.
If we're
Yeah, I
both
wouldn't
on
be
the
mad at
Packers.
that either.
I'm nervous about the conference championship just because every time they get there, all of a sudden something just happens. But I don't know. I like their matchups all across the board. As long as they don't play San Francisco, just because of the running game, I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And I don't want to
Yeah,
bet against
we'll see.
Patrick Mahomes. I can't say no to Patrick Mahomes.
I just always want to make sure I'm seeing guys that are playing the position quarterback wise at a really high level. And I think that there's a lot to like about what Tannehill has done this year. Kind of like Carr-ish, to be honest with you. Not dealing with that type of adversity, but guys that have to find unique ways to win to be able to elevate those franchises. Pretty fun.
Yeah, it didn't matter what it was. One of those things they kept getting doubted, but they still found ways to win. That's all that matters. Is just the wins at the end of the day. Actually,
There
I
you
forgot
go.
one question about one guy because I am a Jameis Winston truther. Was Jameis Winston figuring out in New Orleans, in your opinion?
Was he figuring out what?
Was he just was he living up to the potential he had as a number one pick again? Because they were 5-2. I mean, they were pretty good. They would probably be in the playoffs if it wasn't for that injury.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I watched every single Jameis Winston snap this past year, but I will say that he's a perfect example of kind of like what we talked about with Mitch Trubisky. Someone you're going to get another opportunity like that. Now, are you able to translate that opportunity into another contract, into another real opportunity where you're not playing on a 1-year deal? And did he do enough? And did he do enough means also staying healthy. That's the other part about it. Unfortunately, like some of those things are out of your control, but a saying in all sports, but specifically in the league all the time, is your best ability is your availability. And if you can't consistently be available, especially at that position, it's hard to be successful. But I think Jameis Winston has a big kind of toolbox of talent. I think if he ever finds a way to put it together, I think he doesn't do himself any favors with maybe some of the like quote unquote antics that specifically are tethered to not doing that at the quarterback position specifically. I don't think if you do that playing other position in the league, nobody thinks twice about it. But if you do that as the quote unquote franchise face of the organization, well, then, you're just creating unnecessary baggage for yourself. And so if all those things ever come to alignment, I think he's got an opportunity to certainly have that second career.
Okay, that was the last one I had. I just had to make sure I got that in there. So that's all we got. So obviously, check out the QB School. If you want to be smarter, he will make you smarter. If there's anything else you want to plug with it, go ahead.
No, I appreciate the opportunity to come on here, talk a little ball. I certainly do. The content online stuff is a fascinating space, and it's fun to be able to come on, share it with other people in their platforms as they continue to grow. But man, it's just about kind of spreading the joy for playing a game that you love.
Hell yeah. So for me, for JTO, we're out. See ya. Want to once again thank the sponsor of the show, Living.fit. It's that time of the year again, and Living.fit is your spot to help achieve all those New Year resolutions. Living.fit is a health and wellness company that will help you achieve all your goals, from building muscle, losing fat, and maybe trimming up that dad bod you've been accumulating over the years. Not only are there workout programs, we can help with your nutrition and build out your home gym. If you're a trainer looking to get certified in kettlebell or battle rope movements, we're the place to be. Make sure you go visit the website or download the app Living.fit today. Now back to the show. Dude, I was just crushing DCs this weekend.
Yeah.
You ever get with your boys and just crush some DCs?
Absolutely, dude. Gotta start the day off with a DC.
Gotta start the day off with an ice cold DC. What else do this? 3, 2, 1. Actually, fuck, I should just throw that in there. Okay, that was an awesome interview with JT O'Sullivan. I mean, that's pretty much all we got for the NFL talk. I mean, we talked a lot about it on Tuesday, so if you want to listen to us give our brackets, our preview, go to that. I actually want to make a quick change. Too many people are on the 49ers, so I think the Cowboys are going to win by like 30. So that's my only change. That's my only change I got for you. But like, it's finally time. This is Friday. So tomorrow we got the first UFC card of 2022, which is going to be kick ass. Can't wait. Our boy Calvin. Gonna knock out He's gonna knock out Giga. Can't wait. But
it's not even gonna be close.
No, it's gonna be kind of close. It's gonna be close. I was originally not. I said I was done with lists. But as of today, so last night, DC and RC released a bold takes list. I don't know. I sent this to Harry. If you haven't seen this list, none of these are bold takes. So as the bold take king, I'm gonna give you my 5 bold takes. But I swear, if you didn't watch, I'm showing it to everyone now. I just wanted to let you guys know some of these bold takes. And Harry, even you as a casual can tell me if these are hot takes or not. Do you have any idea who Islam Makhachev is?
I think I've heard the name.
Anyway, he's seen as probably the best lightweight in the world. And the number one bold take was that he was going to win the gold. He's going to win the championship. That's not a bold take. That's very lukewarm. That's anyone who's watched UFC for like over a year or so, you kind of get that fact. Number 2 is Henry Cejudo makes his UFC return. That's like the best unkept secret in the business. That's not really a bold take. John Jones loses a heavyweight title bout. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen with John Jones? So, you know what? I'll give you a little bold take just because John Jones is the GOAT. But that's not that big of a deal. Khamzat Chimaev becomes the number 1 contender. That's just like Islam Makhachev. Like, that's kind of like, that's what's expected to happen. Like, that's not really a hot take. And then number 5 was Valentina Shevchenko becomes double champ. No big deal or anything. I called that last week, but that's not a big deal.
Facts.
That's not a bold. That's not a hot take. I think a lot of people pick her to be Amanda.
Okay.
So, you know, no big deal. Which actually leads to second list. RC, future friend of the program. No big deal or anything. No brag, but hopefully, knock on wood. Amanda Nunes defeats Juliana Pena. Again, not really that much of a hot take. I mean, Nunes was considered the GOAT. She is considered the GOAT by many people, so why wouldn't she win? Number 2, which I love this one. This is actually a hot take. This is my kind of take. He said Benny Dariush would defeat Islam Makhachev by sub. That's the kind of shit I love. That's the kind of takes that gets you those clicks. That's the ESPN special right there. Yeah.
Getting fun with it.
Yeah, that's how you have fun with it. You get the people really pissed when you say shit like that. Then he says again, the Chimaev fights for the title. Again, that's what we all kind of expect to happen. Number 4, this is not, I don't know how this is a bold take. It's Conor McGregor returns for a big pay-per-view. When is Conor McGregor not in a big pay-per-view?
He's going to return at
2014. He's going to return. He's going to main event against Diaz probably. Like, that's not a hot take. Number 5, kind of a hot take, and it's Max Holloway wins a belt by the end of the year, which that's not too hot, but still, these lists aren't hot. I'm going to give you the hot takes. So let's start at number 5, and that is that Khamzat gets submitted by Gilbert Burns at UFC 273 or whatever it is. That's that. I'm not very confident in it, but I mean, Gilbert is he's one of the best jiu-jitsu artists to ever be in the UFC. It's just one of those things. If he gets to the ground, and it's anyone's game at that point. I like Gilbert. I think he's a great jiu-jitsu artist. Do I think it'll happen? No. But it would be pretty kick-ass. I love Gilbert. Gilbert Burns is one of the most likable dudes in the UFC. So again, we'll see. So that's a bold take right there, right? Right? Yeah.
It's at least more spicy than the ESPN list got. So.
Yeah. I'm throwing a lot of heat their way, but I mean, like, come on. All right, number 4. This is where we start. This is where we have fun. Francis Ngannou and Dana White become best friends. Do you know about the drama, Harry?
I've heard a little bit about it. I don't know.
They fucking hate. They fucking hate each other. They hate each other. So like, Francis wants a bigger contract. Dana doesn't want to give him a contract. It's all about fighter pay. So they fucking hate each other. I would assume no matter what happens at UFC 270, those two are going to be very good friends here in a couple weeks. That's my
paycheck become buddy.
Genuinely believe that's going to happen. Especially if he knocks out Gon, Dana will probably treat Francis not like he treats Conor, but it'll be pretty damn close. Francis is going to get the bag. He shouldn't be worried.
Yeah, and he deserves it. So I mean,
yeah. So we'll see what happens. That's another hot take, but I actually really believe that one. I think they're going to be really good friends. Number 3 on my hot take list. If you've listened to this show, you know I'm very high on this guy. Peter Yan becomes a double champ in the bantamweight and flyweight division. I don't know if that's really a hot take. I think that's kind of a really mid take. But I'm speaking it into existence. As I said, I think Peter Yan's a pound for pound number 1 in the UFC. I'm excited to see where he does this year after he beats Aljo, or if he beats Aljo. As I've said in the past, I think it'd be really funny if Aljo won, but Jan's going to win. So that's something I want to see. That's something I think could happen. I don't know what his aspirations are at the double champ stuff. I don't think he could win. I don't think he could beat Volk, but I think he could beat whoever the top is in the 125 division. So that leads me to number 2. Number 2 in this list is my bold takes is that Charles Oliveira submits Islam Makhachev and for the UFC title fight in sometime in like September, October. This is if Oliveira beats Gaethje, and which again more than likely will happen, and that's if Islam beats Benny, which is again more than likely to happen. So that's something I think a lot of people probably, if you're gonna pick the fight to go a certain way, it's that Oliveira win by submission or Islam wins by just like grapple fucking him to death. So that's really the way to look at it, I guess. I mean, Islam's been chinned before. We haven't really seen him test the chin tested in a while. So I mean, Charles has some pretty good boxing, has some good kickboxing. So it'd be interesting to see how Islam reacts to that. But no, that's my number 2 take is that Oliveira is going to submit Islam Makhachev sometime in October or September. And number 1, Harry, you're not going to like this. So earlier today, Dana White announced Leon Edwards is going to be fighting Kamaru Usman for the welterweight title.
Oh,
Leon
no.
Edwards is going to be the welterweight champion at the end of this year.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not going to explain to it why. Kamaru Usman has fallen in love.
I mean,
Kamaru Usman's fallen in love.
Happen.
He's fallen. Yeah. It's going to happen. It's probably who knows. It might be happening in April. But Usman's fallen in love with his hands. His best attribute is his wrestling. And when these two actually fought before, and Kamaru did a really good job clinching, going against the cage. He did a pretty good job wrestling. But Leon started to get a little hot towards the end of the fight. But now with Kamaru liking it, kind of fall in love with his hands. I'm nervous for Kamaru because Leon is very good on his feet. I'd say he's probably the best striker he's fought since I don't even know how long, because I would say Leon's a better striker than Jorge. He's a better striker than Colby. He's a better striker than Gilbert. Wrestling wise, he has pretty good takedown defense. He's a pretty good wrestler in general. He is the best. He is the toughest matchup at welterweight outside of Khamzat Chimaev. But I'm nervous for Kamaru, man, because Leon's got hands. He can't get away with some of the shit he pulled against Colby. But what's going to end up happening is, and why this take's probably never going to actually happen, is they're going to get like a week before the fight, and then some crazy shit's going to happen in Leon Edwards' life or Kamaru's life, where they're going to have to pull the fight, and then Leon's not going to get the title shot. Because that's just kind of what happens in Leon's life. He has the worst luck in the world. So as a Leon guy, I hope it happens. As a firm believer that he is the best welterweight in the world, I hope this happens. But that's my list. Like, that's a real list. So number 5, as I said, I'm going to give this list one more time. I want everyone to remember this is the best hot take list you'll find on the internet. Number 5, Khamzat gets submitted by Gilbert Burns. Number 2, Francis and Dana White become best friends. 3, Peter Yan, double champ, 35-25. Then number 2, Charles Oliveira submits Islam Makhachev sometime in October, in September, or whatever. And then number 1, Leon Edwards, the welterweight champion of the world. I don't know how you beat that. That's the best list in the world.
Spicy list.
It's a spicy list. I'm all about that spice. I'm the hot take guru of MMA. Get used to it. So let's move on to the first card of the year. So a friend of the program, Brian Kelleher, was actually originally supposed to open up the card. He got moved, which is unfortunate, but no big deal. Still got a pretty good fight. TJ Brown, Julian Rosa. I think I probably fucked up his first name. I'd forget the first name. But anyway, Rosa has this thing where he wins a fight, loses a fight, wins a fight, loses a fight. He just lost a fight. So theoretically, what do you expect to happen?
Win a fight.
He's coming in last minute. Yeah, that's exactly it. He's a last minute fighter. Picked up. I don't know. I mean, I'll take it. I would take Rosa, but it'll be a fun fight.
Patterns.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be a fun fight. TJ Brown does have good grappling, but he doesn't really use it, which is kind of weird. So he's probably gonna stay on the feet. Rosa's probably gonna win, but it'll be a fun fight. And like one thing I want to say real quick about this card. There's people out there bitching about it, like it's not that great of a card, blah blah blah. I'm gonna tell you this is teaching moment lesson. Every single time people say a UFC card's gonna suck, it always delivers. it's kind of like the dumb brain fade the public kind of mindset that I have and that we have is like, if you think one thing's going to happen, the opposite always does. And that
Yep.
doesn't just involve like football, basketball, all that. It happens in MMA too. So it's like no one expect Kamaru Usman to knock out Jorge Masvidal. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to bet on Jorge Masvidal get knocked out by Kamaru Usman. Boom, happened. It's just sometimes you got to go against what everyone thinks. But in terms of like when people
Yep.
bitch about a card, usually those cards are awesome. They're always a lot of fun. A lot of finishes.
That's good to know. It's
Yeah,
really
very
good
good
to
to know. Very good to know. So if you don't know any names, that means the card's probably going to be really good.
Yeah.
Second fight, friend of the program, Brian Kelleher. He has a last minute replacement in Kroom. I don't know. He's going to knock his ass out. Friend of the program bump. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Got to support the friend of the program, and
Friend
like
of the
he's a dog.
program.
So
Yeah, exactly. He's a dog, and it's also up at 145, so he doesn't have to cut. So I know he's happy about that. So we're pulling for Brian. The next fight, McGee Brahmaj. I don't know a whole lot about it. I'm not gonna bullshit. I don't know. Hopefully it's fun. It should be fun. Same thing about the next fight.
that's all you
Next
got to
couple
say.
fights. I mean, like I'm not gonna. You're gonna learn very quickly. Everyone listening, I don't bullshit. I'm honest. If I don't have a take, I'm not gonna give it. Or if I don't have someone like I'm actively cheering for because he's a friend, I'll give you my take. But anyway, yeah, Pickett and Holmes is gonna be a fun fight. Holmes looks like one of those dudes straight out of the 1920s with like the squiggly mustache or whatever.
Oh
So that's
yeah.
yeah. I respect the people who pulled out those kind of stops as a fighter. Like he did that. There's a
It's pretty
dude Sean
badass.
O'Malley knocked out. I can't remember his name at the moment, and I feel so disrespectful not remembering it because he's from Indiana. So I feel like an
Whoa.
asshole. But he had the same curly mustache and then got flatlined by Sean O'Malley. But I respect the people who do those crazy like hairstyles, facial hairstyles. But yeah,
Yeah.
that fight will be fun. Pickett's fun. So that'll be a good fight. That'll be a fun fight. We open up the card with Algio versus Brito. Brito, I think, is a contender series guy. I remember he fought. He was a fun fight. I don't know. It'll be a good fight. Again, as I said, if I don't know, it's probably gonna be fun. Then we got Dakota Harry Bush against Borshev. I don't know. I'm just cheering for Harry Bush. I don't know why you wouldn't cheer for Harry Bush.
Oh, between the mic, I just heard that last bit, and it's just
All you heard was
hilarious.
Harry
Yeah.
Bush. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great.
Exactly.
That's one of the best nicknames in the game. Then we got our one and only women's fight. Caitlin Chukagian versus Jennifer Maya. Some say the fight of the year in the women's division.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not serious about that. No, who cares?
Yeah. No.
I mean, hopefully it's fun. I have no strong opinion. I mean, hopefully
That's
it
all you can ask
delivers.
for in a fight.
Just give me a
Hope that it can
finish.
be fun.
Give me a finish. I'll be happy. Let's go to number 3. This is actually a pretty big fight in the flyweight division. You got Brandon Raw Dog Roval versus Van Toren. I don't know his first name, so I don't want to butcher it. That'll be a fun fight. Van Toren's kind of good all around. Roval's good all around. These dudes are gonna fight fast. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be all over the place. Obviously, these last 3 fights are all gonna be fun. The co-main. I don't know why Royval Van Toren isn't the co-main because that one has a lot more implications than this one. We got 2 heavyweights, Collier versus Sherman. I don't know. They're heavyweights. So what do you expect out of heavyweights? To knock each other out. So we'll probably see someone get put to sleep. And then let's get to the big one. Our boy Calvin going in against Giga Chikadze. So Harry, again, for those of you new, most of you listening probably are aware. Giga's he's a very well accomplished kickboxer who came into the UFC. He actually lost his first fight in the UFC in the Contender Series, which you won't hear anywhere this week. I'll give you those stats. I know all the stats. Support my boy Calvin. But anyway, he lost his Contender Series fight, got back into the UFC. He's been 8-0 since. He has had moments where he's looked like his chin might be a little vulnerable. He starts to gas out also towards the end of fights. Like when he fought Edson Barboza, the Lions are still heavily favored in Barboza going into the 3rd round, despite the fact he landed a bunch of really good shots and kind of scattered around the 1st and 2nd round. Just because they believed in Barboza's his jab was working really well, his cardio was there, things like that. So what I'm trying to say is Calvin's best thing is like he's a tough motherfucker. Like I wasn't kidding when I started that interview and I called him
tough.
Yeah, he's literally Boston tough. I know there's some question marks around his durability after the Max fight. I think he's going to be fine. If he weathers the storm in the first round and a half or so, it's going to be a tough night for Chikadze. I think it's going to be one of those elbow finishes that he's had. I'm not even to say next he's friend of the program. Like, I really do think Calvin's going to win. I have thought he was going to win. I've been very excited for the fight because I've always been a fan of his. So, if he weathers the storm in the first round, I don't see how he loses.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be streaming it while I'm at working door staff at the pub. So
I will say there's nothing worse. So like I do. Oh, you're working door staff. Okay, it's easier if you're bartending. So like I'd be bartending an
yeah,
event, and I'd have the fight streaming. Like so, like I'd be bartending. I had like my TVs to my left, and I'd be like pouring
yeah.
someone's drink, looking over, seeing my boys fighting, and it's just like it's nerve wracking. It's nerve wracking, but yeah, it's
All
gonna
of a
be fun.
sudden
It's
you've
gonna be
over poured.
yeah, over poured, give them the wrong drink. I don't know, all
Yeah.
sorts of shit, all sorts of shit. But it's going to be a good card. I'm really excited. I mean, this is going to be a fun sports weekend. We got not only got the UFC back, we got NFL playoffs. As we've said, if you want to listen to anything we talk about
Mm-hmm.
that, go back to Tuesday. All over the place. But you know, as we said, we covered the big news that was announced today, kind of. And that was Kamaru Usman is not going to be facing Leon Edwards for the welterweight title. That's big, big, big news. Other than that, I mean, there's really not really too much other stuff going on. There's some little things like future friend of the program, Leah Tapuria. He's got a new fight with Charles Jourdain. That'll be a fun fight. Excited for Aaliyah. He's, as we said, big prospect. Other than that, I think we covered it all. There was another really fun fight this weekend that got pushed to next weekend. It was Michelle Pereira. You never seen the guy who does backflips on people?
Yeah, I have.
That was
It's a
that guy.
big
He was
Twitter
supposed to
thing.
fight. He was supposed to fight this weekend, so that sucks. He was he's a very entertaining fighter, but anyway, that's all we got for the UFC. It's gonna be a fun card. And as I've said, and I'm gonna say this every single time we do these things, like I'm not an expert. I just kind of use my eyes and I just want to have fun. And if I don't know opinions on people, I'm just gonna always say, I don't know, should be fun. It'll be good. The UFC is the best matchmaking business. They're the best at matchmaking. Every fight they make is gonna be good. This is why they're the best in the business. It's gonna be a fun card. Very excited.
Yes,
Very,
sir.
very, very, very excited. So, also, one more thing about the Cater Chikaze thing. Giga's been focusing way too much on the Volkanovski fight that gave into the Korean Zombie. So he's thinking way too much about that. Doesn't realize that this monster Calvin Cater is coming at him like full speed ahead. So another reason why
Yeah.
I like Calvin a lot. He's focused too much on the fight that he's not getting. So we'll see. We're cheering for our boy. I'm excited. He's gonna do well. He's gonna do very well. Let's see if there's anything else we got for all y'all this week. Starting next week, we're going to be doing medals of the week. So we just kind of want to let this thing build a little bit. So every week we'll be giving our 3 medals: gold, silver, bronze, kind of all over the place with that. That'll be a lot of fun doing that. Oh, actually, I forgot to do Fraud Friday this week. Well, that's okay. I kind of got my list got apprehended. ESPN made me mad
Yep.
while I was working on Fraud Friday. So we'll have Fraud Friday next week before UFC 270. My biggest frauds in the UFC will be coming out that week. I haven't done a Fraud Friday in that yet, so that'll be fun. That'll be a good time. So yeah, that's what we got. It's gonna be a fun weekend. Harry, what you got?
Looking forward to watching the fight tomorrow. And first week of school done. Big chilling now.
Yeah. I'll just be watching fights as I'm a soldier of COVID. And just another thing for everyone listening, watching, as I've said like 7,000 times already, Harry is new to this. He is literally every definition of a casual. I'm walking him through this. The goal is by the end of the year, he's going to be just as in love with this as I am and all of you are. Or if you're trying
Won't
to
take
be
too
in
much
love
time.
with it shouldn't take too much time because we have like some kick-ass fights coming up. So anyway, with that said, that's the show. We're excited. I can't wait. Have a weekend. We'll see you guys later. See you on Tuesday.
Yes,
Don't
sir.
know who the guests are going to be yet, though. It's an haywire right now. It's an haywire. We may have like a 3-guest episode on Friday. Who knows? It's craziness. It's craziness over here. Like all the people we've been in contact with have had the worst luck over the past like 72 hours. So we'll have it. All right, everyone have a weekend. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around with me all the way to the end. I just want to once again thank the sponsor of the show, Living.fit. If you're looking to better yourself, make sure you go to download the app or visit the website Living.fit today.